Check, 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 check. Sound check, test, test, test. Sound check. Check.
The mocktails and starters will be available for the next 1 hour. So if anyone wants to get some more, you can please do so. Or even the Taj catering staff will help you serve the same at your table. We have a book, The CFO Lens, authored by Mr. Ravi Kumar Ramanan, available outside. If anyone wants to grab a copy, can please do so. May I please request all those who are standing behind to please take your seat so that we can start with the program. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed clients, partners, and colleagues, a very good evening to you all. I am Soumya Ramkumar, along with my co-host Jahan Ara, your host and dost for the evening. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of pride that we stand before you today to extend a warm welcome as we celebrate a significant milestone in the journey of CFO Bridge, as it's our 12th anniversary. 12 years ago, CFO Bridge was founded with a vision to redefine the landscape of CFO services, to offer unparalleled expertise, and to provide innovative solutions that empower businesses to thrive in an ever-evolving financial landscape. And today, as we reflect on the journey we have traversed, we do so with a profound sense of gratitude for each and every one of you who has been a part of this remarkable journey. Over the past 12 years, the company has grown from strength to strength, thanks to the unwavering support from you, our clients, the dedication of our team, and the invaluable partnerships we have forged along the way. Together, we have weathered challenges, embraced opportunities, and continued to push the boundaries of what is possible in empowering organizations to make informed decisions and accelerate growth. Looking ahead, the journey is still unfolding, and the possibilities are limitless. With your continued support and collaboration, we are confident that the best is yet to come for CFO Bridge. Together, let us embark on the next chapter of our journey with renewed vigor, passion, and determination to make an even greater impact. So, once again, we welcome you for the evening. Let's raise a toast to 12 years of success, growth, and innovation, and to many more years of partnership, prosperity, and excellence. Thank you, and let the celebrations begin.
Before we embark on the journey of today's event, let us set the tone with a moment of reflection and reverence. As we prepare to open our hearts and minds, we hereby invite on stage our multifaceted CFO partner from Chennai, Mr. Shivakumar Kalyanaraman, to render a soul-stirring invocation song. Shiva has spent close to 2 decades as a high flyer in the corporate world in the tech, payments, and fintech space. Shiva comes from a musical family and is a professional mridangam player. Thanks to COVID, Shiva took to Nama Sankirtanam seriously and has rendered it at more than 200 events. As Shiva says, at CFO Bridge, he has been able to perfectly balance his hunger for finance and Nama Sankirtanam. His objective is to spread the joy of Nama Sankirtanam to the world at large. Over to you, Shiva.
Check. I think this is better. I'll use this. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for the kind words, Jahan. We again, invite all of you for this event. The song that I've chosen, is actually the flavor of the season. So that's on Lord Rama, right? And the reason why we also picked this song is, obviously, as we all know, Lord Rama is known for his valor, for his courage, for his righteousness, and more importantly, he's somebody who's looked up on for doing the right things, and more importantly, doing things right. Right? So all of us at CFO Bridge obviously aspire to be that. And so here is a song on praise of Lord Rama. Pibare Rama Rasam Rasane Pibare Rama Rasam Pibare Rama Rasam Rasane Pibare Rama Rasam Pibare Rama Rasam Rama Durīkrita Pataka Samsargam Puritanana Vidhapalavargam Pibare Rama Rasam Rasane Pibare Rama Rasam Pibare Rama Rasam Janana Marana Bhaya Shoka Viduram Sakala Shastra Nigama Gama Saram Shuddha Paramahamsa Ashrama Geetam Shuka Shaunaka Kaushika Mukha Pito Paramahamsa Vachanamrita Saram Brahmananda Gunadika Saram Pibare Ramarasam Rasane Pibare Ramarasam Rama 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 Rama. Thank you.
Thank you, Siva, for the beautiful rendering of Invocation of Blessings of the Almighty. I'd like to take a moment to outline the brief agenda for today's event. We'll have our founder and CEO, Mr. V. Srinivasan, set the tone for the celebration and unveil our latest venture, CTO Bridge, followed by a cake cutting. Following that, we have an exciting lineup of activities planned, including a keynote by Mr. Ramkumar Ramamurthy and a panel discussion by highly experienced CFO panelists, followed by an evening of networking over refreshments and a sumptuous dinner. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome to the dais someone who needs no introduction, the visionary leader behind our success, our founder and CEO, Mr. V. Srinivasan. Please join me in extending a warm round of applause as we welcome V. Srinivasan to share some opening remarks and set the tone for today's proceedings.
Thank you, folks. Namaskara. Namaskara, Bangalore. I feel absolutely delighted and privileged standing in front of you. All along, we were celebrating year 1, year 2, year 3, Y5, we called it, our year 5, year 10 in Mumbai. But we realized that the center of gravity is shifting. Center of gravity is actually shifting south. So there is increasing number of clients, number of partners, number of activities, initiatives are now centered in Bangalore. And we got to recognize this leadership of Bangalore. So that's why we are here today. What started 12 years ago has now, is a career to close to about 80 plus finance professionals in different age groups. 100 plus clients as of today we are concurrently working with. And I would say at least 10,000 crores of annual turnover is what we call as turnover under influence. It's a new term. And the very important point is more than 10 clients are with us for more than 10 years. And, we've got quite a few clients, more than 5 years, more than 2 years. What started as a bridging, why I am giving these statistics is we thought that we are there bridging some gap, but we are obviously, our bridge is as long as the Mumbai Trans-Harbor link. We do get a lot of inbound inquiries every day. We don't, while we have a marketing and sales team, honestly, their job is fairly easy. And this happens because of the impeccable high quality of the service that CFO Bridge renders. Every day, someone who knows someone is referring our services. And we can confidently say that at least 200 basis points of impact on the EBITDA, of positive impact on the EBITDA of our clients, at least 200%. And there is something very unique we even started. We thought that, EBITDA is an easy thing to do. Can we move up a little bit? Can we start influencing the gross margin? After a lot of debate, we are now working on the gross margin is considered to be something, industry takes it. A gross margin, that's it. Let's all work towards EBITDA. And there is, that's a huge debate among CFOs. So we started even working on improving the gross margin. Trade secret. If you want to know, you should become our client. And very importantly, we also started driving two-in-a-box concept. There are many assignments where two CFOs are working together. Because sometimes competencies and skill sets may not be fully present in one CFO. So there are many assignments where, and the most important thing, it's not just putting two in a box, it's getting two CFOs to work together in the interest of the client. So I think the important issue that CFO Bridge has, very proudly achieved is what we are holding as the talent bank of 35 plus CFO partners is an unenviable asset for us. And their ability to work together as one team for the benefit of the client is something that we will be ever proud of. And now we have expanded from India into US as well. We just had only one partner in Dallas. As of last week, we signed our second partner at Tucson, Arizona. So we now have a second partner in US. And on top of that, we just recently starting two new verticals. A vertical which is focusing on what we call as social impact entities, which are not-for-profit or NGOs or Section 8 companies, especially focused on them, headed by Mugundan right here in Bangalore. That's one new vertical that we started, and we are already working with quite a few reputed NGOs because they need quite a lot of, it's not that they're, with the growing, the wealth of the country, the amount, those of you who know, the total money on charity is more than 1,25,000 crores. So it requires a CFO to help them. So we now have got a separate vertical which is focusing on not-for-profit entities. We also, very recently, we just started our vertical which is focused on ESG as, that's the buzzword. The ESG, E takes away most of the limelight. But we started working on the reporting and the accounting side of that. So that's a new initiative. These are all things that have happened within CFO Bridge. And then about a year and a half ago, we were even discussing, okay, now we have got CFO Bridge, we have brought it to a level and we believe that it has got all ingredients of growth now. The leadership is also, firmly in place. The second level, third level, the pipeline for the leadership, which can take over and run. In fact, today I can proudly say 9 out of 10 decisions are not taken by me in CFO Bridge. It's all taken by the leadership pipeline. And I mean, I take that one decision at the moment. So we have created the pipeline. So we thought that what else we could do next. That's when, in a casual conversation in place Bangalore, once again, we just struck upon a possibility of a CTO bridge. We said that, okay, why not CTO bridge? Because finance and technology are adjacent areas. We thought that we should work on it. More than a year of working and fine-tuning the nitty-gritties and the details. And more importantly, we wanted to have a good co-founding team. Very, very happy to have Satya, Sashi, and Sundar co-founding this. So they will talk more about CTO Bridge. I don't want to take the thunder out of them, but we are very, very proud of having CTO Bridge here. And what next is what we are thinking now. And right here in Bangalore, it's quite possible when we do our, when we enter next year, that's going to be a teenage for us. So we are going to be teenagers, 13. So we might as well have a HR bridge, quite likely, next year this time. And I think we'll probably hold with those 3 pillars. We may not go beyond that. But that's the broad outline of our growth. And we believe that these 3 entities have got a lot of synergy between them and they will help each other. That's our expectation. And also, I would like to announce that we have a fantastic tie-up with an organization of global repute right here from Bangalore. Presents is a company called, it's a very reputable firm of chartered accountants, JCSS. Yeah, and the partners of JCSS are here. Mr. Jain, the J stands for Jain and C stands for Jatin Christopher. S stands for Srikanth, and the last A stands for another Srikanth. We have got both the Srikanths here, Srikanth Balki and Srikanth Sriki. It's the JCSS as a firm of chartered accountants has got phenomenal expertise in taxation, in audit, in internal audit, and in consulting, technology, right across both India, Japan, and Indonesia and Singapore. So considering their unique presence and the unique competencies and capabilities and cultural fitment with CFO Bridge, we have tied up with them and we are working very closely with them. So JCSS resources are available to CFO Bridge. CFO Bridge's resources are available to JCSS. So we are working as one team to deliver a lot more benefits to our clients. In a moment, I will invite the partners of JCSS on the table. We also would like to announce today that we also tied up and we brought on board an excellent M&A advisory and investment banking firm, APTA Advisors, led by Hari. And Hari, you're there. Thank you, Hari. So, these days in technology and other things, it's always about grow or go. So you want to grow, you need CFO Bridge. You want to go, you've got APTA Advisors. So a lot of M&A stuff that is happening in companies, in mid-sized companies. We are very proud of working with APTA Advisors. And once again, we will work seamlessly to deliver fantastic benefit for our clients. In closing, I would like to thank all of you who have come on a holiday. We were wondering, we got bold enough to do it on a polling day. And we were actually hoping for that polling is now done, 6:37. They would let us open the alcohol, but they prevailed on it. They said only by 12:01 you can open it. And if people are staying here till 12:01, I guarantee you we will open it. But in the meantime, we have set up a fantastic, very, very high, very cryptically done mocktail bar. And I also would like to tell you another thing. We have kept inside each of your goodie bag what we call as, we have also kept you a corporate dice. And I just want to say a little bit about that. Corporate dice, there will always be an uncertain situation. How to take a decision. I would say take the dice and roll it. And I got the dice long back, and then I kept on with that. So you will find the dice there. So I just thought I should tell you about that. So we are very delighted that we are finishing our pre-teens, and we are entering into our teens, and we will have the good fortune being in teens for at least next 6-7 years, and we can hold our celebration anywhere in India. So with those things, I would like to invite the partners of JCSS on the stage and unveil our partnership. Thank you, Balki.
Thank you very much, Srini. These were kind words indeed. And a very warm and hearty welcome to all of you this evening for this event which is being organized by CFO Bridge. Having been through the grind, you know exactly what it takes to reach the levels where CFO Bridge is presently today. And while Srini has been very casual and very light-hearted about it, the kind of effort which would have gone in to make it such a huge success simply cannot be discounted. And it literally requires, you know, blood, sweat, and toil to make it to this level. And in an area which is extremely competitive and takes a lot to stand out. And like Srini said, the feeling is mutual. We are also very happy to be partnering with CFO Bridge, where we believe that our strengths in the areas of audit, corporate law, foreign exchange, tax, consulting, and legal advisory is something which can provide a very well complemented service to all the areas where CFO Bridge is already providing services. And I think it's the same for us too, where our clients need CFO services. That was one area which was lacking as far as JCSS was concerned. And this is where CFO Bridge very neatly ties in. So therefore, it's a win-win for both of us. And we do hope that our clients will also benefit from the strategic tie-up that we have got with each other. Thank you very much, and I hope all of you have an excellent evening, and please do enjoy this evening. Thank you. Thank you, Srini.
Just the last word I would like to say about the book that Ravi has written, which is available outside. It's aptly titled as CFO Lens, but it is not just intended on the CFO, it is intended for everybody. It's an excellent book. I read that, cover to cover, non-stop. It has got a lot of anecdotes, a lot of interesting instructions and experience sharing by everybody else. So it will be a priceless book. If you are a CFO, please do buy. If you are someone else, please do buy and gift it to another CFO. Thank you so much.
Please join me in extending a big round of applause to our CEO, Mr. V. Srinivasan, for his inspiring opening remarks and visionary leadership. We are privileged to have you as our leader, and we look forward to the exciting journey ahead under your guidance. Before we move on to the next phase of our celebration, it is time to indulge in a sweet tradition that marks a special moment. May I now invite on stage some of our esteemed clients, Karan Verma, CEO Bridge Health, KC Ganesh, President Pratiti Investments, Mani Payaniyappan, CFO Explio. And I also request Shashikala and Shiva from CTO Bridge and Prabhu and Shilpa from CFO Bridge to accompany them on the stage. I invite you all to join us for the cake cutting to commemorate our 12th anniversary and launch of CTO Bridge. Thank you.
may I request Karan to share a few words about his experience with CFO Bridge? So we've been privileged to work with Bridge Health over the last year or so. So it's been a great journey for us, and it's between me and Jahan, who's managing this engagement. And it's been, as I said, a great experience to work with Karan as well as with Ganesh. So, Karan, please.
Yeah, sure. So they were figuring out what exactly to do with us on the stage, as you realized. It's such an amazing evening. Thank you, Shiva. Thank you, Jahan, for having us over. I think the biggest compliment I can give to CFO Bridge is the fact that, you know, I've worked in so many multinational organizations before, worked very closely with CFOs, and they're absolutely the right-hand person for managing a business. But I've never worked with a CFO which is, you know, an outsourced entity and working with you. So the biggest compliment is I've never felt a difference. It really feels no different. The partnership is so tight and close. And Jahan, you've been amazing. Where Jahan? Jahan has been absolutely amazing partner. You know, I call her whenever I have to, whenever I need her, and she's there. And it doesn't matter where she is, whether she's in the office or, you know, even traveling. So as I said, feels no different. And kudos to this organization that has created the services in such a complete manner. And I think the values that the CFOs here live, that we truly feel complete with this service. So that's one piece. I think the other thing is I still remember the first email that Shiva sent to me, and I said, okay, send me the scope of works of, you know, what you'll cover. And as I said, you know, 25 years in corporate sector, I haven't seen a more complete scope of works document of a CFO. So I just saw that and I said, done. Right, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for the kind words. It's been a pleasure working with CFO Bridge. Bridge Health.
That's how,
You know what? There are many a times when I go around telling people I work for Bridge Health when I actually work for CFO Bridge. So I think that Bridge is the one which ties us together.
I would now like to invite Mani, CFO of Explio, to speak a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I joined Explio about 6 months ago, and even before I joined, Explio already had the tie-up with CFO Bridge. So the engagement already had started. So they have basically, brought them to see how the finance function can be improved. And, what I have to say is CFO Bridge has basically made my job much easier. So when I came, I basically hit the road running. So the whole job was already done. All the required work has already been completed. And, the kind of entire whatever that needs to be done was done so very well that it basically made my job very, very easy. So thanks to Sundar, and he's been really a good friend and help and support at any point of time. So thanks once again, Sundar, for providing me the help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mani, for your kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue with our program, I'm delighted to introduce to you the esteemed partners of CTO Bridge. We are glad to have as our partners some of the best minds in technology services and products. First, please join me in welcoming Sundar Sampath, Satyanarayan Vishwanathan, and Shashikala Vishwanathan, co-founders of CTO Bridge. I request Satya to introduce the partners of CTO Bridge. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You have voted for the nation. Now it is time to vote for the CTO Bridge. Something made me think about that famous sixer that was scored by Dhoni 13 years back, when possibly CFO Bridge was not there. Today, Srini and his team have hit 2 sixers. Why don't we give a big round of applause to the CFO Bridge? 1 6 made into 2. Right, I have a small agenda of about 5 to 6 minutes, certain anecdotes, a video, partner's introduction, and a summary. The story goes like this. In 2022, me and my colleague Shashikala, we incorporated Yashmiya Consulting and Technologies, and we were about 6 months old, building the foundational blocks, growing the organization, when my dear friend Sundar called me on 22nd of March, 2023, which happened to be my birthday. The birthday gift from Sundar and Srini to me was inviting us, Yashmiya, to join hands with them in building the CTO Bridge. And 13, 14 months later, we are proud that CTO Bridge is getting launched today. Now, I will borrow a snippet from what Srini said. He used the word TUI, turnover under influence. So with CTO Bridge, you also have a T, U, and I, technology under influence. And I am very, very delighted to tell you that we have onboarded 8 CTO partners, veterans from the industry. You want a startup? All of them have worked in startups. You want a T1 flavor? We will give you a T1 flavor. You want somebody on a legacy? Yes. Or you want somebody to prompt an AI engine to spit out things the right way? All aspects of technology has been covered and is getting covered by my beloved partners team. So before I branch on to the introduction, one quick question which I want everybody to notice. Sundar and Sashi, just move a little bit away. I want the people to see the logo. Any thoughts on the logo? Normally I ask this question wherever I go. Anybody has any thoughts on what this logo conveys to you? You will get one extra dish in the dinner that is arranged by Sundar. Sweet, whatever you name. What do you get? Anybody raising the hands? Excellent. Infinite is one thing. Anything more? Anything more? There are 2-3 stories which you can easily blend out there. Mobius strip, okay? Full life cycle. Anything else? Fantastic. Who got that pair of spectacles? Gandhi spectacles, right? It's a vision for the future. Technology comes with a vision for the future. And there is one thing more, which is the artistic touch. You can see the C starting. All the CXOs, everybody needs technology. T stands in the middle. The bridge takes you out there neatly, sweetly. That is about the logo, because it is important to know the logo. Sashi knows it very well. Whenever I do these introductions, there is a 15 minutes that is spent on introducing the logo. You get our company into your heart. Now, Divya, are you ready? Play the video.
Technology has been expanding rapidly in recent years, and organizations are striving to keep pace. How important is it for the businesses to adopt the right technology at the right time?
It is absolutely crucial. Business sustainability and expansion depends on technology adoption, as highlighted by the recent pandemic. Even mature organizations need multifaceted tech leadership for business gain.
Many organizations today struggle to invest in full-time technology internal leadership. How can they bridge this gap?
That's where CTO Bridge solution comes in. We provide technology leadership skills on a fractional, part-time or interim basis, making it easier for organizations to access premium technologies.
Our focus is on enabling small to mid-sized companies to affordably access top-notch technology expertise. This is crucial for effective technology adoption.
CTO Bridge has partners with a wide range of technological expertise and proven leadership. We offer fractional CTOs, CIOs, or CISOs based on our clients' specific business needs.
It is clear that technology leadership is a game changer for businesses of all sizes. If you are looking to bridge the technology divide, remember CTO Bridge Solutions.
A big round of applause to our creative team. Special thanks to Divya for her immeasurable patience. Ideas were flowing in from all directions till the last minute. I just told her when we were coming in, Divya, can we change that 59 second? That is the kind of patience she had. And now, Soumya, are we ready with the introduction of the partners? You can just demonstrate. Okay, so Srini, you should be on stage. So here is the co-founding team of CTO Bridge. Perhaps I should give my style of introduction to each one. Srini, the man with 25 hours of energy in a 24-hour day. He works non-stop. He makes us work non-stop. That is the way organizations are built. That one line plus the 12 years of excellence and I don't know, some 10,000 crores were rolling around all over the place. That is Srini for you. Here is my dear friend Sundar. We have been doubly colleagues in our earlier organization. We have a very, very long history to go. Sundar is one of the finest CFOs whom I have ever personally seen. He gives approval with a smile. No CFO ever gives an approval. Always they give it a small grudge. So that is Sundar for you. And here I have Sashikala, who is the co-founder of Ishmiya Consulting and Technologies along with me, and the co-founder in this brilliant venture. One thing about Sashi is whether it is a code review or a design review or a legal document review, she's extremely meticulous. And sometimes when any of these things go to her, I just pray and wish Sashi will give approval pretty fast. That is Sashikala for you. A big round of applause. Before we move on, Shiva, can you come on to the stage? So here is a man with us right now because India is not playing any test cricket right now. Chennai Super Kings is not playing any cricket right now. Otherwise, he would have been elsewhere. Here is Shiva for you, an industry veteran with more than 25 years of technology experience. He has tried all kinds of things, made startups successful. In the fintech and card space, he has done enough and grown startups to a selling stage. I think whatever runs with card, he is very good at. Whether it is payment cards or scorecards in cricket, she was extremely good at that. Murugan, can you please join me on stage? So here comes somebody who makes me jealous and envious all the time. Murugan keeps on studying something, getting certificates, and makes others study, shares knowledge, networks non-stop. He is a top-notch CISO. He connects with the who is who in the security world. He suddenly says, Satya, this is where Dr. Kalam did that. That is where this guy did that. My goodness. Here is Murugan for you. Falguni Desai, let me give a word. She got dropped into the wrong Taj Vivanta. She is on her way right now. But I had this introduction for her any which way. If you go to Lucknow, there is a famous Bhool Bhulaiya where you could easily get lost. And I was about to say that if you give her a maze of applications, hundreds of them, running in various configurations and parameters, Falguni can cut through that and come out easily. So Falguni is based off Mumbai. She has worked extensively with VFS. There is every possibility that whenever your visa gets non-judgmentally processed, it would be one of Falguni's applications. She should be joining us anytime now, and I think over the dinner we can meet her. Rahul. So here is somebody who is also a sixer man. Apart from many other things that Rahul has done in his technology industry, he has hit a sixer of working with startups. And the way he puts it is very, very beautiful. Satya, half the startups which I worked with were successful, the other half did not end in success. So my immediate question to him was, which is the better half? The learning startups or the earning startups? Rahul is yet to answer me. He comes from Gurgaon, the NCR region we have allocated to him, a man with abundant energy. And then can we go to the next slide? Okay. So Madhavan Satagopan, who could not join us today, an industry veteran, Lehman Brothers, Wipro, CTO at Altimetric, CTO at Marlabs. He has done CTO in about half a dozen organizations. I would like to point out 4 things about Madhavan. One is his software prowess. Second is his spirituality. Third, his focus on sustainability. And fourth, most importantly, a sweet smile, a disarming smile. I think he puts over any of these clients. He couldn't join us, unfortunately, today. But I'm sure Bengaluru or Chennai or Hyderabad, one of our future events, we should be able to meet Madhavan. Anurag, can you just come over? When people are worried about petty things in life, here comes a man who loves his pets. So apart from all the things that he has done in the technology world, in leading startups, in working in healthcare, etc., Anurag loves pets and he nurtures them very, very beautifully. And last in our introduction is Ravi. Ravi Ananthakrishnan is an industry veteran, 35 years in the industry, masters from US. Returned back to India to be back in Namma, Bengaluru. He has been here for the last 25 years, led enormous number of delivery organizations over lots and lots of time. And he has dabbled his hands in startup. Are we having the thing for Satya also? Okay. The last partner, the 8th partner, see, we want to grow in all the 8 directions. We have assigned one direction to each one of our partner. The 8th partner is Satyamurthy, partly my namesake. The beauty about Satya is I can tell him one thing. If ever he writes a book called My Life in T1 Companies, I'm sure on day 1, 100,000 copies would be sold. That is the kind of amazing anecdotes and connects he has got with almost all the T1s across the world. And perhaps he left TCS out of this equation. He also could not join us today. So let us come together. We have all come together. Let us all stand together for a photo op session. Here is the founders, co-founders, and the tech partners, CTO partners of CTO Bridge at this point of time.
Is launched. Shiva is already working with the client in Hyderabad. So we are off the ground.
I think I like to share one anecdote about Satya actually. He said a lot anecdote for everybody. Okay, one person who had visited more than 1,000 plus Shiva temples all over the world. My God, I think I had to get updated. Please remember, if you wish him and if you get his blessing, it is equivalent to visiting 2,000 temples, actually. Okay, at one place. Thank you, Satya.
Please join me once again in extending our sincere appreciation to the distinguished partners of our new venture, CTO Bridge. Their insights and expertise have provided invaluable perspectives on the technological landscape to democratize technology thought leadership. Moving on to the keynote address, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker for today's event, Mr. Ramkumar Ramamurthy, partner at Catalinks and former chairman and managing director of Cognizant India. With a rich 35 years of experience in the IT industry and having worked with two of the largest employers in the private sector in India, namely Tata Consultancy Services and Cognizant. During his 22 years at Cognizant, he held various leadership positions, including Chief Knowledge Officer, Executive Director India, and Chairman and Managing Director India. In 2020, Ramkumar retired as the Chairman and Managing Director of Cognizant India and founded Catalinks Partners, a growth advisory firm that enables small tech companies to rapidly scale and grow their businesses. Ramkumar spent the first 6 years of his professional career as an academician and has since been on academic leadership boards of several universities, national academic bodies, and institutions of higher learning, including AICTE, Skill Sector Council of NASSCOM, Vellore Institute of Technology, to name a few. Ramkumar has had a long association with several trade bodies in India, which include Madras Chamber of Commerce and Industry, American Chamber of Commerce in India, CII, and NASSCOM, to name a few. He is currently also an independent director on the board of a listed NBFC, namely 5-Star Business Finance. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to our esteemed key speaker for this evening, Mr. Ramkumar Ramamurthy. We are truly honored to have you with us today. Your insights, wisdom, and experience is invaluable, and we are eager to hear your perspectives on fractional CXOs, an idea whose time has come now.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. When Sundar and Srini first reached out to me and wanted me to participate in this event, I was a little surprised as to why I was chosen. So probably about 30 minutes back, Srini revealed the reason for it, the roll of dice. I'm actually very happy to be a part of this event, largely because this is something that a few of us do for a living as part of Catalinks. We have a slightly different model relative to what CFO Bridge has. We aren't as diverse as the leadership talent that you actually saw on stage a few minutes back. We have about 10 partners. All of us are ex-Cognizant. 9 of us are in Chennai and 1 in UK. So that's how diverse we could probably get with our team. Often when we go to meetings, people ask us, hey, you seem to have a very homogeneous experience. We look at each other and say that the only diversity that we bring to the table is one is bald, one is obese, one is so on and so forth. I'll probably go ahead and then share some of the thoughts that I have. A few of those points have already been covered by Srini and others who are up on stage here. So I'll try and then keep this at a fairly high level. So when I look back and look at some of the structural changes that have happened in the history of management, a few things crop up. One, Several decades back, people looked at strategy and management to be two sides of the same coin. A few years later, operations started playing a very, very important role, almost to a point that management and operations became two sides of the same coin, which is when most of the interesting frameworks came about in the marketplace, whether it's Six Sigma, whether it's Kaizen, so on and so forth. And a few years later, management and operations and technology became two sides of the same coin, which is when many of the strategy and management consulting companies started making significant investments in technology because they realized that they just couldn't probably go and provide a strategic blueprint to an organization without an understanding of what technology can do to the company in the short to the long term. You actually saw some massive build out of technology capabilities in some of these large consulting companies. If you look at Deloitte in India as an example, the kind of rapidity with which they are scaling up the technology talent, almost doubling their technology talent with every 2 or 3 years, it's unimaginable. But today, I think a few of these topics were covered, but let me provide some insights to it. A few additional aspects have been added to core management. One clearly is ESG, the other is human sciences. In fact, just before we got into this room, I know there's going to be a very interesting panel a few minutes from now. Much of the conversation with the panelists was all about how do we manage the human dynamics across multiple generations today in the workforce. I think the pandemic was a true eye-opener. If you just look at what happened during the pandemic, in discovering a vaccine, manufacturing the vaccine, and administrating the vaccine, this played out exceptionally well. I know most of you know that in the pharma world, it takes anywhere between 8 and 10 years to develop a drug, and you have a window of about 5 years to monetize, to go through the commercial operations of the drug before it goes off patent. Anything that takes 10 years was crunched in less than about a year to manufacture the drug. 2, we manufacture drugs in volumes never done before historically. And we were able to distribute, manage the entire supply chain and logistics to the nook and corner of the world so that every individual is jabbed. But where did we fail? We failed when it came to vaccine hesitancy, in terms of vaccine wastage. On all aspects that drove vaccine hesitancy had nothing to do with management thinking or theory in the prior decades. It had to do with politics, sociology, ecology, anthropology, so on and so forth. So increasingly, we are beginning to see human behavior gaining center stage in management theories, and we are going to see more and more of these. Having lived the last 30 plus years in the technology industry, I cannot but sometimes wonder, why is it that people are finding it difficult to get employees back to office? Fine, we've all been part of organizations of various sizes at various points in time. Today, HR professionals are finding it difficult. The leadership is finding it difficult to call employees back to office. The fear if they call them back to office, they would quit. They may not be able to attract the right profiles of people if you don't give them the kind of a hybrid working environment, so on and so forth. I think some of the fundamental aspects of running a business are going to be tested if you don't get the human sciences part of our business right. I was pleasantly surprised when Srini announced that next year you may probably have a CHRO bridge. And let me give you, given you saw in my profile, I spent a lot of time with the academia. And there are reasons for it, specifically in the Indian context. If I were to ask all of you in this room to name the top 10 law schools in India, chances are that 99% of you would get all the top 10 right. If I were to ask you to name the top 10 medical colleges, you would do it. Top 10 engineering colleges, you would do it. Can we try and then go beyond the top 3 HR institutions in the country? We have a fundamental problem with talent generation in HR in a meaningful fashion. You have a Tata Institute of Social Sciences, probably have an XLRI, you have a symbiosis, and then there is a free fall. And I have studied this very carefully, merely looking at the salaries of educational institutions that offer a master's in HR. You probably start anywhere between 25 and 30 with the premium institutions. Very quickly, you actually drop to 5 to 7. Fine. As a nation, we haven't invested in human resources at higher education level, which is probably the reason many of you are in the tech industry, right? Having spent considerable years with some of the large technology firms, at times I have actually scratched my head when the CFO becomes the CHRO of a company. The top 3 companies have experimented with this in tech, where people running delivery centers have become HR heads, people who have been CFOs have become HR heads, and people from different departments have become HR heads. Just imagine if the chief marketing officer becomes a CFO of a company. Fine, we do have a genuine problem, and that's going to play out in the months and years to come. I won't spend too much time on this. Why is it that we truly need fractional CXOs today? One, it's largely because the complexity of running any organization has increased manifold. No longer are capabilities homogeneous. A few minutes back, Srini mentioned that they actually have brought 2 CFOs together to complement their skills to work in a given account. No longer is a CFO complete in terms of capabilities as an individual. You probably need complementary CFOs to make a CFO complete. And that's the challenge that we are going to probably face. One, smaller companies, given that I work with several of them with under 10 million, 20 million, 50 million in annual revenue, what we have realized is if only we are able to provide them that strategic guidance up front, you shift left. The earlier in the process, if we are able to build the right muscles in the organization, the opportunity for them to grow with grace gets multiplied manifold. When you discover some of these challenges down the line, you have some serious issues. Fine, and we saw that play out yesterday in this company called Koo, right? Fine, exceptionally well-managed company. People thought that they would potentially be a threat to some of the well-established global players in that space. Byju's, it's a company that came up with a great degree of promise. But there are certain elements, certain parameters. If only they had focused on those and governed well, we could have produced one of the finest unicorns that the world would be proud of. These are all organizations with great energy, great hunger, great promise, but they falter along the way largely because they haven't got that advisory support at the right time. Specialized expertise. Expertise is no longer just limited at a 30,000 feet level. You actually have to work at a 3 feet level today. I'll give you a couple of examples based on a study that I was fortunate to participate in last year as part of my association with Kriya University. Flexibility people spoke about. Interim solutions. Now this is going to probably become a much bigger issue in the months and years to come. Having lived in Chennai for the best part of my life, we were all aghast in Chennai, talking in many chambers of commerce, when there is one promising company that saw 4 CFOs in 5 years. Discontinuities are going to be a reality in the days and months to come. I wouldn't be surprised if we probably see 3 CEOs in a company in 1 year. So interim solutions have clearly become a need for many of the organizations. And I can tell you, end user organizations are finding it very difficult to attract very good technology talent as a CIO. And especially smaller companies. Just imagine the pressure that the Reserve Bank of India is putting on smaller financial institutions in the country, where every week they are actually getting a directive from the central agency on the changes that they need to the technology landscape. And imagine if DPDP were to become a reality a few months down the line post this election. I think it's going to be a free-for-all. Fine, understanding the entire privacy landscape and the kind of data prevention needs that will have to be imbued in every single organization. Cost and speed to market, innovation. Obviously, we need remarkable pinch hitters. Fine, using the analogy from cricketing. Impact players. Just imagine, suddenly, out of nowhere, we have a bunch of very senior people trying to dredge Byju's out of the morass that they are in. Mohandas Pai, a former SEBI director, so on and so forth. These are all pinch hitters. Suddenly, in today's context, you really need those pinch hitters, especially in areas like what Byju's is going through, or tomorrow if there is a cyber event. Whoever expected a HDFC Bank, a Kotak Bank, and a Mahindra Finance to be pulled up for certain challenges that they have in the technology space? So one of the reasons why I would compliment CFO Bridge for having taken the plunge to start CTO Bridge is earlier, for most businesses, technology was only an enabler of business. Today, for most businesses, technology is the underlying business. It is the business. Find your platform for differentiation can at most times be technology and the insights that you actually get from the data in the organization. So this is going to become even more critical in terms of managing the crisis. Now we are seeing this fractionalism play out everywhere. Just going back to the theme, is fractionalism as a theme an idea whose time has come? India has not seen corporate participation in education in a meaningful fashion in the last 2 decades. Some of the best run educational institutions in India have been funded by corporate houses, right? Whether it's Indian Institute of Science here, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, BITS Pilani, OP Jindal, Kriya. But it is all being funded by one individual historically. But today, collective philanthropy has taken off in a big way. And some of the best known institutions have come from fractional contributions. This is not crowdsourcing. This is just not money. These are individuals who are lending their name, providing their influence, working very closely with the leadership team in terms of shaping those institutions. Whether it's the Indian School of Business, which actually started this momentum in India, or you look at Ashoka, Kriya, more recently Plaksha in Chandigarh, there is a new wave of fractional investments coming into education along with the knowledge and the know-how, which is going to shape the institutions of the future. Obviously, there are other models that are also creeping up. I just saw a headline in Mint a few weeks back. But today, people are talking about, hey, look, guys, all of us have a responsibility to build India Inc. Nation building cannot happen in the traditional form. Don't leave infrastructure development in the country to the government alone. And it's just not these bonds over a long period of time that's going to give the financial muscle for the government to build these, whether it's REIT, whether it's Invest IT, so on and so forth. You're actually going to see a new form of fractionalism emerge in public-private partnership and contribution. Probably have 2 more slides and I should be done. There is a study that we did about a year and a half back, given that the major part of the audience happens to be CFOs. I thought I'll pick this example to dive a little deeply. This is a study that was done jointly with Dun & Bradstreet in India, given that these guys have had a long focus on CFOs, not just in India, but also globally. And as many of you know, CRIA merged with what was erstwhile IFMR, Institute for Financial Management and Research, that was created by Vagul, Seshai, and others over the last several decades. And it has a certain reputation for finance and finance-related study, almost to a point that the current chief economic advisor to the government of India is a former dean of IFMR. So this is actually a study on the future of CFOs, on the kind of roles and capabilities that are needed, roles that they would play, and the capabilities that are needed. We actually spoke to about 50 to 70 CFOs across industries to understand a few things. Many of this would probably be very simple for you. Nevertheless, I am going ahead and making a point. Historically, these are considered to be the roles of a CFO. But as an educational institution which offers MBA in finance, you know the intent of the study. Fine. What are the capabilities that chartered accountants bring to the table vis-a-vis MBA finance bringing to the table? That there is an element of vested interest in doing the study. And people realize that, hey, look, these are the roles that the traditional chartered accountants would play and fulfill exceptionally well. I'm using CAs and MBA finance more as a proxy for capabilities. It's not to do with the actual qualification, but there is some underlying merit in using this argument today. I'll come to that in a minute. Today, in the new role of a CFO, he or she is expected to be a co-pilot to the CEO. Completely business oriented, and this becomes even more important in the context of ESG. Because ESG is just not reporting what you do. ESG is ensuring that every process, every artifact that you build is ESG compliant. Every vendor, every supplier that you deal with is ESG component, which means it's reimagining every single aspect of the organization, from procurement to warehousing to distribution to customers, to production to marketing. Every single aspect of what you do will have to be ESG compliant. Especially if you're going to focus on Europe as a market, you had it. Fine. So one, how does a CFO reimagine every single aspect of the business and is truly a trusted lieutenant of the CEO? CFOs have to be storytellers. I had the privilege of running investor relations at Cognizant for almost about 22 years, ever since the company was taken public. So, right from filing the red herring prospectus to meeting up with hundreds to thousands of investors in a given year. I can tell you, dealing with investors is an art. And I've had the experience of being on panels with several CFOs. Some love to do it, some don't love to do it. They believe it's a necessary evil, and therefore they just go through the process. And this makes a huge difference to an organization. Being a technology champion, a people manager, and a risk manager. Now, a study was done globally. This is something that gets published in the Fortune magazine every year, to find out how many CFOs in the NASDAQ, in the S&P 500, in the NASDAQ 500 or Fortune 500 are chartered accountants or chartered accountant equivalent CPAs. How many of them are MBA finance? It's interesting, a few years back, the scales actually tipped in favor of MBA finance, that today more than 51% of CFOs in the S&P 500 are MBA finance. And one of the theses that was brought out is people with an MBA finance seem to have some of these newer capabilities relative to the traditional chartered accountants. We did the same exercise for the Indian CFOs looking at the BSE 500. And the results weren't very different, although it wasn't as acute as it was in the US. But we are beginning to see a trend where more and more are moving towards. It's largely because they believe that MBA finance has exposure all to the newer areas that I just spoke about. People management, risk management, marketing, fine, communication and collaboration, so on and so forth, which is just part of the syllabi, part of the curriculum. of any of these MBA programs, and they are created as well-rounded individuals rather than merely be seen as a traditional bean counter, okay, if you will. So the reason why I brought this up is, now this is going to probably change the landscape even more. Tomorrow, when you're going to probably play the role of a fractional CFO or a fractional CTO, you're going to probably see a lot more capabilities expected of individuals in some of the newer areas than some of the traditional areas. Many of the smaller companies today, some of the ones that we work with, fine, we are prospecting with 2 or 3 listed companies as we speak, and their entire investor relations is actually outsourced to one of the consulting firms, one of the large consulting firms. They don't probably have an in-house team driving it, which is also the reason why. In fact, yesterday somebody forwarded me an email of a new CFO at WNS. I just went quickly and then checked on his credentials. He happens to be an MBA finance. In fact, in the entire history of Cognizant, up until Jatin Dalal joining the company from Wipro, we never had a CPA as a CFO. Gordon Coburn was an MBA finance from Tuck School at Dartmouth. Karen McLaughlin was an MBA finance from Columbia. And more recently, a gentleman called Jan, he is actually a PhD in economics. Obviously, you don't have the same controls that you have in India as to who could potentially become a CFO. In the Western markets, some of the educational qualifications can be a little more flexible. It's not the qualification per se. I just wanted to use that as a proxy to demonstrate the kind of skills and capabilities that are needed in individuals to be successful. In fact, I'm a very firm believer that your educational qualification is only a passport to your first job. Fine, today, if Accenture as a company can be run by a lawyer, if the Reserve Bank of India can be run by a master's in history, and if Salesforce in India can be run by a lady who has done her master's in English literature, I think anybody can do any job as long as you specialize in that. Fine, it's the experience that actually makes the individuals different. And this fractional stuff is actually catching on way beyond the traditional CFO. You actually have a very material movement in the US, fine, GigX, where you look at how many job roles are being advertised for fractional CXOs. I was very surprised that the current open positions for fractional CXOs is 4,177 just on this one site in the US. So it clearly indicates not only has a time come, I think it's very important for people to start looking at this. I won't spend too much time on this because it's already been covered by a few of them. In fact, scope of work was examined in a very detailed fashion in the previous session. There is one final slide. I think we are at a cusp where fractional CFOs are going to play a very important role in India becoming what the current government talks about, Viksit Bharat by 2047, so on and so forth. Or a $5 trillion economy, $10 trillion economy, so on and so forth, because large companies are going to drive growth only up to a certain level. The entire growth engine is the small and medium enterprises. And if we cannot enable these small and medium enterprises at an appropriate stage, I think all the ambitions of an agent could potentially get mortgaged. I had an opportunity to listen to N. Chandra, the current chairman of Tata Sons, at a United Way event in Chennai last year. He made a very interesting observation. He said, the average employment in an MSME in India is less than 2 people. Just imagine if every one of these institutions can probably be enabled to gain scale. This is where we can make a meaningful difference, individually as well as collectively, to the nation. Some 100,000 startups have come about, each one having amazing potential to take the country to a very different level. 1.2 crore MSMEs, registered MSMEs, not the ones that are outside the registered network, they employ about 9.3 people. If only we can get every one of them to add even 10 more people per organization, I think we have made a huge impact in the growth of these companies. Third, last year, the credit growth to MSMEs have actually gone up substantially because of several initiatives by the government. Fine, whether it's the PLI scheme or whether it's the Emergency Credit Loan Guarantee Scheme. We are actually seeing remarkable growth in MSMEs in the country. and the appetite for a new generation of people graduating from colleges to become entrepreneurs is far greater even than what it was 2 years or 3 years back. Number of students straight from college, fine, or people with 3 to 5 years of experience under their belt, fine, their preference is not to go take up an employment, but to create employment in the market. And I don't think we need to be ashamed of being seen as India as a nation of shopkeepers. And if we don't do it, I think we are actually missing out on our obligation to shape India Inc. in the months and years to come. And I think we would need fractional CXOs in every single discipline. It's just cannot be limited. I know of people who run fractional CMO organizations, fractional CDO organizations, fractional CAO administration organizations, so on and so forth. I think there's a critical need of the hour, if we have to probably take India to the next level. Leave you with one quote, because change is very, very difficult. Fine enough, companies, small, big, are going to resist change. In fact, while we are all talking about SMEs here, I don't know whom Kotak Bank is going to identify to bail them out of the crisis that they are in currently. And get what? Vaswani, who took over as a CEO, he was formerly called the digital evangelist of Barclays. Find the technology issue that Kotak is going through today. Hopefully he'll manage it. He has just taken over as a CEO just in the last few weeks. So I think that's the level of intervention that is needed. Said by a former military chief of staff in the United States that if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. Up until last year, a lot of focus was on how many unicorns India created. I'm beginning to see reports on how many of them have actually lost their unicorn status in the last 1 year. I think the choice between creating more unicorns and losing existing unicorn status, I think, rests with fractional CFOs and CXOs. Thanks for the opportunity.
May I please call on stage our experienced partner from New Delhi, Subramanian Ji, fondly known as Subbu, to hand over a small memento of our gratitude to Mr. Ramkumar. Please join me once again in expressing our deepest gratitude to our esteemed keynote speaker, Mr. Ramkumar Ramamurthy. Your address today has been nothing short of transformative. Your expertise, passion, and eloquence have captivated us all and left an indelible mark on our hearts and minds. On behalf of everyone present here, I want to extend our sincere thanks for sharing your time, your knowledge, and your invaluable insights with us. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue with our program, I'm delighted to announce the next segment of our event, a panel discussion featuring a distinguished group of CFOs who will discuss on the topic Tech for the CFO's Office, Current State and Need. Allow us to introduce our esteemed panelist. Panel moderator, Ravikumar Ramanan, former CFO, IBM India, a chartered accountant by profession. Ravikumar is an author and the former CFO of IBM India. He has over 30 years of finance, sales, consulting, board level, and global experience and has worked in 4 countries. As finance controller and CFO, he engaged extensively with customers in business development and deal making. He managed a large $400 million Asia-Pacific cost center, led enterprise risk management, and was a member of industry and policy bodies such as CII, CFO Forum, to name a few. Ravi has authored 2 books, including a book on finance titled The CFO Lens.
Next on stage, we would like to invite Amit Kulkarni, CFO of Fireside Ventures. Amit heads finance, legal, and investor relations at Fireside Ventures. In addition to his role focused on the fund, he is involved in helping the portfolio companies of Fireside in areas of finance function setup, governance of portfolio companies, and digitalization. He's a chartered accountant with over 12 years of experience.
We now invite on stage Jaipal Singh, CFO of ID Foods, seasoned chartered accountant with 19 years of experience in diversified industries, of manufacturing, retail, e-commerce, and FMCG. He's currently the global CFO for ID Fresh Foods across 5 countries. Earlier, as CFO of Urban Ladder, he played an instrumental role in the turnaround journey of the company.
Next on stage, we invite Srini Srinivasan, former CFO of Bosch India. He joined Bosch India in the year 2017. He's a chartered accountant with over 2 decades of experience, having worked across all F&A verticals in India, Singapore, United Kingdom, and Germany. He was also associated with the Unilever Group in India, as well as overseas for 27 years. He is the co-founder of Golden Mile Learning, an NGO implementing e-learning and sustainable development in high-altitude areas in Ladakh. Started in 2013, the Digital Learning Project now covers 25 schools, benefiting more than 5,000 children.
Last but not the least, we invite Vikas Sureka, CFO of BrowserStack. Vikas is currently the CFO of BrowserStack. He's a chartered accountant with close to 3 decades of extensive experience of working as a CFO for various tech companies that are founder-led and US-listed like Wipro and IBS Software. Without further ado, let us dive into the discussions. Thank you.
Hello. Good evening, and I'm Ravi Kumar. I'll be moderating the panel discussion today. I once again would like to thank all of you for being here on a Friday evening, which happens to be a 3-day weekend, and seeing a room full of people here clearly demonstrates the mutual respect that CFO Bridge and its clients and partners have for each other. Only that can make so many of you come here and be part of this event today. I think this is not probably, forget a day, not probably half a day in our office lives that we don't hear the terminologies, technology, digitization, transformation, etc. And the extent to which it will go further from here, I will use a quote by a CEO of a very large bank in India, who recently said that the future of my company, as I would like to see it, is to be a technology company that provides banking services, not a banking company that uses technology. This is very similar to what Mr. Ramamurthy alluded to, that the underlying nature of all organizations will be technology-led. In fact, they say many of the differentiations between, we use sectoral differentiations like FMCG, retail, everything. At the end of the day, every company is going to be first a technology company and then into its respective domain spaces. Technology is useful only as long as it is well adapted. And adaptation becomes a very critical part of technology across the organization. Interestingly, day before yesterday, I read a report of a survey of by a global organization called Indeed. Many of us would not have heard that organization's name, which conducted a survey about the readiness to adapt technology across 11 countries. It included India, Germany, France, Canada, and several other companies. And something very interesting came up. The number 1 country in this group of 11, which are many of them get classified as developed countries, the number 1 country that is ready to adapt technology was India. Apparently, 95% of the respondents said We know technology is going to change our lives in the future and the impact it will have on us. And we are confident of handling that, which is amazing. Because those 95% of the people are all the people in this room and people who work for us, the young people who work for us. So if, and India has never been a great innovator, but has always been a great adapter. We pride ourselves so much on the success of UPI. US of technology, finance obviously cannot be far behind. Has to keep pace. Much has been said about the role and the role of the CFO in the change. So I will not dwell into it, but the role of the CFO in future, as it is CFOs in this room and elsewhere, over the last decade are spending lower and lower amounts of time in the record to report process and more on business decision making. And that will be the future, not just of the CFO. Today, what is happening is it is mostly at the CFO level and maybe in large organizations, one level before that. The finance organizations of tomorrow, everybody will be in the role because there will be so much automation in the record to reporting function that every finance professional will have to be involved very actively in providing insights, in making decisions for the organization. And that's where, to enable that, because that will be the demands of the CFO and the investors on the board will simply take reporting and statutory functions for granted and ask the finance organization to exclusively focus on insights and decision making. For that, we obviously have to automate, and different people are in different points of that journey of automation. But how that can be taken further, what are the options available, what are companies actually doing, is what we will hear from the 4 panelists today. They each come from a rich background and a different background. So let me start straight away and request the panel members to share some opening thoughts, maybe in less than 2 minutes if you can, on the topic of automation in the office of the CFO. So Vikash, shall we start with you?
Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, Srini, Sundar, thank you for having us here. The challenge with this panel is going to be that we're going to stop you from your dinner and the amazing cocktails. So hopefully we'll make it on time. Look, I echo all the things that you said, right? I mean, obviously we speak about the role of CFO. It is changing tremendously. And if you really look at, I come from a tech background. If you see where do I spend my time today, if you just break it up, I would be spending maybe less than 20% time in the core finance. When I say core finance, it would be record to report, looking at your monthly MIS, and so on and so forth, right? 80% of the time is going to go on strategy of the business, future of the business, talking to your board members, talking to the investor, and creating the narrative like Ram was mentioning. 80% time is going there. It doesn't mean that, just because 80% time is going there, 20% is neglected. If you want the 20% to be a lot more efficient, you want everything to be so seamless, so frictionless, and coming to you in real time, right? Because you want real-time information. And especially for a company like us where we are remote first, and we spoke a lot about remote first earlier, we don't even have an office. We have teams across various countries. We have teams across various states and cities in the countries that we operate. And if you were to go and talk to somebody individually, each one will have a different story, a different number. Then the question for us is, how do you bring all of this together so that one, the information is real time, and second, the information has a single version of truth, so that that can be relied upon and acted upon, right? That's the a biggest challenge. And for us, the best way to do that is, we said, hey, look, let's automate everything that we do, right? If you were to look at, let's say, a simple thing like a billing process, right? We invoice to about 100 countries, and we generate maybe about 10,000 invoices a year, right? If you were to do this all manually, it would have been like a nightmare, right? So right from, let's say, starting from the time an order is raised, to the order is processed, to the order is processed, and the invoice is raised, and the money is collected, the entire process is today managed by just one person. And the one person's job is not to raise any of this just to monitor that the access rights of the system is working well, system is up and running. If you were to go and look at all of the systems, right, you will see that there is immense opportunity for us to automate all the basics that we do, and then divert all the attention and time towards the 80% that I'm talking about. And that is like the number one priority that we need to do. And historically, if you talk to most finance professionals, you will find that this skill they've not learned. I have not learned it. I'm sure most of the people on the panel have not learned it. So this is a skill that you need to build. And if you don't build this skill over time, you're going to become irrelevant very soon. And post-COVID, I can see like a major transformation happening in this area. Tools that are available today are amazing. Like anything you want to automate, there is a tool available and the competition available. You can pick and choose. So for me, at least the main discussion really is, do you have the mindset to like automate everything? If you can't think digital, if you can't think automation, it will be very difficult to operate in a world that we are like going on. So that's what I would probably say to your question.
Thank you. Jayapal?
Good evening, everyone. So audible now? Yeah. So, completely agree with what Vikas was just saying and, Srini's opening remarks. I work for ID Foods. I'm sure many of you would have had our products. Having spent decades on consumer, my lifetime I've spent, the career has been mostly spent on consumer brands. I feel that running FMCG business, among consumer brands also running FMCG is really difficult. Within FMCG, food businesses are even more difficult. Within FMCG and food, I think fresh food, what we run, 5-day shelf life, is, difficult cube in our CA language. And running FMCG food fresh without technology, I would say that is impossible. Just now Srini was mentioning that a bank CEO said, Ravi was saying that a bank CEO said technology company providing banking services. In fact, we internally say that ID runs on IT. We say that we are a food tech company or a technology company delivering or manufacturing and retailing fresh food. That is how we, at least internally, have sort of generalized this use of technology. Very, very extremely heavy use of technology is what we do. And I heard in a CTO Bridge, Satya was saying that when you ask some approvals for CFOs, they have a little bit of grumbled look on their face before approving. I think that is changing. I definitely think that is changing. And if it is not changing, I request all my fellow colleagues here to change that, because I strongly believe in, sometimes why there is a grumble, because we find it is expensive, it is, it consumes cash, all of it. I think, a good solution might be expensive. A bad one can cost you a fortune. So we should all keep that in mind before, grumbling and not approving good ones. Having said that, for example, in our organization, our FP&A team does not do MIS at all. In the initial call which I was having with Sundar and Srini, that's what I was mentioning, that our FP&A team starts with the insights and analytics on MIS. There is nobody who prepares MIS today. That's the level of technology which is embedded in ID. And maybe I'll talk more about once we proceed through. Ravi, over to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Are you able to hear me? Yeah. So I think I'm going to echo a lot of what has been said. But I come from Fireside Ventures, which is a venture capital fund. We invest in early stage consumer companies. And typical of any early stage company, there is a lot of control on how the cash is used, right? Especially around when it comes to support functions and CFO functions especially. But you think about this, there is so much technology which is developing on the front end, and if the back end does not catch up with that, then the front end is going to fail and is going to be at significant risk at some point in time. Think of the investment which you're making in this company. You're taking a certain amount of risk. Why do you make this investment? Because you think there's going to be a big opportunity loss if you miss this boat, right? I believe the same about investing in technology as far as reporting and any CFO function is concerned. You need to make that upfront investment. Yes, you will be mindful of not investing in something which is not ready for you, because you need to be very mindful of the time and energy which goes beyond just the cost of it. But if you don't take that risk, then you're taking a long-term risk of letting this company, into a more undynamic situation in the future versus what it is today.
Srini?
Good evening, everybody. Again, technology and CFO. Hello. Yeah. So, good evening, everybody. Let me draw a slightly different perspective, and all of the comments of the panelists are very, very valid. But having been a CFO in Unilever, then Bosch, and then becoming joint managing director, so I've spanned across industrials, consumer, automotive, and now as a board member in fintech and also advising VCs. I mean, the fact that one way to address the whole aspect of technology and the CFO is to make the CFO lead the technology change, whether it's a digital or whether it's a transformation. And lo and behold, at least 2 companies on which I am the board. I happen to be the audit committee chairman, but also the chairman of the technology committee. So the chairman and the board collectively think that this is the guy who will let the train on technology go fast, but at the same time ensure that all the controls and all the aspects, the nitty-gritties of how technology can be effective and should be effective is well adhered to. So from that perspective, given the changing role of the CFO and what we saw in the previous session, it's very important for every CFO to ensure that his backyard is absolutely perfect and clean and he's able to contribute. At the same time, ensure that the learning curve of the organization on technology is going with speed while ensuring the hygiene elements. We have seen, I mean, of late in the newspapers and media, you have seen some of the issues that on basic levels of controls, basic levels of risk management that has come up. And in all of those aspects, in every aspect of the CFO, technology can play a very, very important role. So my conclusion would be that not only technology for the CFO's office is not only a hygiene, or not only a good to have, but it is a basic survival. So therefore, for every CFO aspirant to crank up that skill development on technology is very fundamental to future role of the CFO.
Thank you to all of the panelists. Let's start with the digitization of the finance function, which is at the core of what we are talking today. Can you share your experiences and examples of how real-time reporting is happening and how analytics is being leveraged to drive greater insights in the organizations that you're associated with? So again, let me start with you, because you've already given one example of that, of 10,000 invoices generation in the entire process being handled by just one person who just monitors it. But love to hear a little more from you on that.
Yeah, sure. See, if you look at like one aspect that at least I always had a challenge, right, historically was you can always automate a lot of processes, right? You can automate a AR process, like I mentioned. You can automate a AP process, how the vendors submit invoice, etc., etc. One aspect that I felt which was missing really is the entire change management that happens. See, one of the issues that we encountered in our finance team really was, a high attrition, right? And there could be a lot of reasons why the attrition happens. But through the attrition, by the time you get a new resource and onboard the resource and then make the resource productive, you're lost like 6 to 9 months, right? And the entire knowledge that was available to the resource earlier is not fully transitioned also, right? So we found that, end of the day, then how do you like capture all that is happening around you in a manner that is very seamless? And we use a tool called Confluence very much in the company, right? I'm sure some of you are using it. Great. If not, it's a tool, I feel it's a must-have tool, right? It's a tool that helps you collaborate heavily across the organization. It's a very real-time tool in terms of how do you capture what's going on in your business, what's going on in your team, what's going on in your processes, etc. And you can edit, re-edit, document everything that you do. So we mandated our teams to like use this tool for everything that they do in the company, right? More so the finance team. We said, okay, if you're going to like have a control framework, please document it using the tool. If you're going to put a business case to make some purchases, please put a page towards it. Document why are you buying, what are you buying, how are you buying, etc., etc., right? Document all the areas of work that you're doing. The moment you were able to convert all the tasks and activities that teams are doing in a digital form, right? This is available for people to like review, refer, etc. easily. And we found a side benefit of this, right? One benefit is, of course, it helps in change management. Second benefit is it becomes like a very good record for you to substantiate various things that you're doing in the company for subsequent processes. It can even be like audit processes, which I know right now we're all, even we do most audit processes very digitally. How you submit samples, how you collect samples, how you review samples, how you exchange Q&A, etc., etc. So to me, you know, there are such tools available which is helping you not just manage your core processes, but even fringe processes, which are actually very much going to influence how you're going to behave, how you're going to like run your company and your finance things. I hope that helps you give you like a little bit of a perspective.
No, thank you very much. Very useful. Jaipal, can I request you?
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, digitization is, like I said, we apart from running the fresh food for us, because the inventory shelf life is only 4-5 days, we must ensure that the entire inventory is consumed on the same day. If you come to our organization at the end of the day, we take pride in ourselves saying that our inventory will, the finished good inventory particularly will be 0. What we believe is without digitization, without automation, which is what Ravi wanted us to focus on in this point, it just wouldn't have been possible. The other strong differentiator which we have compared to any other FMCG in the country is we do not have a super distributor, sub-distributor, area distributor concept at all. We are straight from factory to the retailer. Therefore, what happens is we will have 50,000 invoices in a day. In one country, I'm saying, and then we have 4, 5, 7 countries where we operate. Of course, India is the largest, and other countries, the numbers are small. But put together, it is 50, 70,000 invoices in a day. Even if there are 2 to 3 line items in one invoice, if you look at our sales register for one day, it has about 200,000 lines. One year sales report will not come in one Excel sheet. We have quarterly reports. I mean, that's what we were doing before digitization. To manage it from there, and Vikas just mentioned a tool called Confluence. We have another tool called Fountain 9. Those tools are the ones which make survival possible. I'm not even saying survival easy. It would not be possible if I don't have Excel 1 year sales register. Then how do I start with anything? Similarly, in the accounts payables, again, we manage the entire the GCC. For GCC, when I'm saying Global Capability Center for all the countries, sits out of India. Every country has a different revenue recognition. Every country has a different way to account, GRNs, the taxation, VAT. Some countries are still on VAT. We are on GST. Countries are mostly slowly moving to GST. The input credits available on different countries in different circumstances are different. So again, if we would not have digitized that whole AP process, it would have been almost impossible. And what has also happened in digitization, 10 years ago, we were digitizing ourselves. What we have seen is over the period now, we are evolved. Our partners are also evolved. When I'm saying our partners, be it a customer or supplier, they are also evolving. I think that is what is helping us. When they are digitized and we are digitized, that is when the power is showing, and that is when these kind of complex transactions are being made possible. Otherwise, I'm not even sure. Different time zones, different countries, different regulations. I manage the global finance role. I mean, yeah, I cannot even imagine.
Jaipal, how long does it take for you to close your books?
Yeah. So, we have let go, in our organization, we have let go of a period closure. We say the MIS will be more or less available every day. Of course, there are closing entries like salary and rent, etc., which comes, but what we have done is, in the BI, SAP of course is the ERP, but in the BI what we have done is, based on the last month's month-end entries, it auto-posts the daily entries. Right? Let's say my salary for the month is 30 crores, for example. So it will post 1 crore every day automatically. And of course, at the end of the month, it gets reversed and the actual entry gets passed. But what we have committed to, our investors is that you will get the MIS on first of every month. Because there is nobody making the MIS. MIS is already there. There are every entry which is getting accounted is digitized. There is nobody even entering. I don't have accounting entries done at all because it is scanned. So we have barcodes for each cost centers, and what we say is, as soon as the invoice comes, you paste those barcodes, scan, SAP entered. Right? Because if you say that this has to be the cost center, this has to be the GL, this has to be the country, this has to be the region, this has to be the category, and to be able to have the MIS on first with all the cuts, what we have done is we have defined every category as a cost center, be it category, channel, city, geography, SKU. And all we say is, if it is, see, the accounting is mostly an AR invoice or an expense invoice. We say that just paste these barcodes, scan, and it will get accounted in SAP. So, technically, Ravi, to answer your question, on 31st, 12 o'clock, we can give the MIS for the next month. That is where we are.
So we said we'll talk of best practices. I don't think there can be anything better.
And I'm happy to demonstrate that. If any of you want to, we have spent a lot. Why I'm so proudly saying is we have spent a lot of time in reaching that stage. It was not easy at all. It was really difficult, but we have sort of achieved it. Again, technology. Without technology, we wouldn't have been able to.
Excellent. Amit, can I request you to...
So I'll pick an example from one of our portfolio companies, which is in the fast fashion sector. In a fast fashion sector, the biggest risk is around inventory management. You cannot have too less of it. You cannot have too much of it. Too much of it will lead to a loss of inventory at some point in time because the fashion trends are moving very fast. And it lead up into your small margins which you work on in a fast fashion industry. Too short of it will make the customer's experience terrible and they can move away. This company is using AI to identify global trends in the fast fashion trends and bring it to India in a very cost-effective manner. Now that's the front-end tech. But at the back end, they're managing entire of this inventory in Excel sheets and manual entries. When you think about the kind of inventory buildup which will happen because of that, because you don't have real-time information of what is the excess inventory which you're lying or where is the shortage. And when we did the diligence of this company, we had about, and this is a very, very early stage company, so we had $1 million of write-off of inventory at that stage. And then we got together with the company and, we said, you built a lot of tech on the front end. How about the same tech team builds something for the back end? And that is where your margins are going to be significantly improved because you're not going to have these write-offs in the future. So the CTO, and he's a co-founder of the company, really focused his efforts, took away time from the front-end management to build this technology for the back-end inventory management, which is integrated today from the order management system. They have a philosophy that if you spend about 90 seconds of time while scrolling on your web page, there's a 90% chance that you will order this inventory at some point in time as a customer. So their order goes in right after the 90 seconds pass. Now, if you don't have a real-time information that this order didn't come through in the next 3 days, you need to cancel this order. Otherwise, you're going to have excess inventory. Now, this technology which they've built is able to capture this in the 3 days time frame that the order hasn't come in. Otherwise, someone was sitting and manually doing this. This is a company which launches about 150 SKUs every single week, and they're going to scale up every week from here on, right? This is just the beginning. One of their competition does 1.5 million SKUs per week. So that is the kind of space which they operate in. And this led for them to really look into this problem and solve for it. Now they are integrated with their suppliers, they are integrated with their order management system, which also talks to their inventory management system. And the inventory efficiency has gone up so much that today they carry only 3 days of inventory in the company. And they had a diligence very recently, and there was no write-off at all. Right? So this is how I think technology is playing a very, very significant role in both front-end and back-end management being bridged. And all of this activity, while the CTO was involved in developing this, has today the inventory management become a much more CFO function than in the past, which used to be a procurement function, etc., because it is impacting your margins on an everyday basis almost, and also helping in demand planning for the future.
Srini, can I request?
Yeah. So let me give you an example of a company on which I am sitting on the board. It's in fintech in the insurance sector. And in insurance, you have more than 10,000 products. And within each of the product, you will have to provide insurance to different age groups, different types of industries and others. So when it comes to the CFO and he has to do performance steering, at the end of it, there is a certain sort of profitability he has to achieve. And if you are in the business of risk, managing the risk of a risk business is hugely complicated. And that's what the CFO is expected to deliver and send a response to the sales force in terms of what is the nature of risk we are covering, are we on a high risk path, what is the mix of the business that's happening, what's the sort of an actual valuation that is going to impact our balance sheets. So it's a very, very dynamic situation. So the CFO, one, he has to have a very big role in implementing the systems that will give him the analytics that is required for him to take the decision. But in the context of a larger role about storytelling and fast response, he has to be able to assimilate, get the insights, and respond to say that, yes, what is the action for the next day? Given the fact that in an insurance business, you have agents, you have own employees, you have different channels, you have digital. So there is multiplicity and highly complex nature of selling small ticket items, or for a corporate, you would do a big deal. So the complexity of a CFO role, I don't know whether you call it fractional or not. It is almost like the Ravana who has to have 10 heads to be able to manage the complexity of the business. Well, we would like to have a Rama with 10 heads, but nevertheless, the complexity of the business is so huge. And for people who are in the actuarial valuation business, or indeed on the board, it becomes very complex to be able to decipher, to say that, yes, are the provisioning, are the balance sheet, and the valuations that are done for the business of the future is all very appropriate. And without a very, very strong enterprise layer and a very, very superb top-of-the-line analytics layer on top, to such an extent that when I am able to, on the board, when I'm able to ask queries, the team is able to do the query on online and on a real-time basis, able to give me an insight which satisfies me that, okay, the governance and the statutory compliance on many of these aspects is in order. So to the question, I mean, I can't imagine how anybody, I mean, I don't know how LIC used to run or GIC and others used to run, but at least now I can't imagine that how a fintech or an insurance business where the core is technology and the CFO can provide and stand up that sort of an assurance that is required.
Thank you, Srini. Let me just add one comment. The word that we hear very often in businesses today is customer experience. And customer experience has now come to the core of determining the success and growth of an organization. And companies now measure the kind of customer experience at every step in the customer's journey of buying, from their getting informed to placing the order to getting things. In fact, we all order more on Amazon because we know we can return it. And that has happened because their process for collection of the returned goods and making sure you get your money back is outstanding. And that function, those two functions are very finance-led, with a lot of finance involved in it. And now the finance function will have to play a greater role in the area of customer experience, because many of these things that we do, the world is becoming more B2C now than it was before because of online shopping. And therefore, the activities that we are responsible for, which used to be the traditional, we used to call it, boring activities like invoicing and posting the invoice and then reconciliation and collection. That now has changed because the end customer, our processes are directly interacting with the end customer. And therefore, getting those processes right, which is a finance domain area, is very important. Let me switch to the topic of, we spoke about reporting. One of the areas that finance professionals to a large extent don't seem very comfortable with is in the area of, for example, storytelling and communication. We've always been told that we communicate too much financial jargon and all that we understand is data, data, and data. And if we have to make the transition from, in order to influence the business, we'll have to make a transition from giving importance to what we say to giving importance to how we say it. Because how we say it has a greater influence on decision making than what we say. And one of the tools available to make your presentations more impactful to decision makers is data visualization. Unfortunately, finance professionals and probably many professionals don't come into jobs well trained in the area of digital visualization. It's more on the job training, but it's become a very, very important skill. So let me ask two of the gentlemen here to talk about data visualization. Let me start with you, Jaipal.
Sure. Ravi, like we mentioned, there is nobody who now is making the MIS. So therefore, the teams which were now earlier, like you said, what we say, the teams who were saying what, don't have anything to do. So they have now understood that I better do the how better, right? I mean, if I don't have the what, and if I don't do the how also better, then how do I survive? And in that process, what I have realized is those teams, when they work with the technology function, again, when they have now worked with the CTO, saying that, okay, the MIS is ready, I have to now present it better. They have created on almost a live answer for any possible question. Like, I just heard Vikas saying that that in the board meeting, when you ask a question, sorry, I think Srini mentioned this, that in the board meeting, when you ask a question, it is almost live available. So what has happened is when the FP&A function, which we call, if they do not have to make those every report, reconcile this, that, they are focusing a lot more on the how of it. And along with the technology function, they are making every possible question a live answer. What we have done, another very revolutionary thing which we have done, we have cancelled all Microsoft licenses. We said only then you will get to the how of it. Until Excel is there, you will keep using Excel and 10,000 rows, etc., etc., etc. We cancelled Microsoft licenses. Very few people, of course, have it, but across the board we cancelled. And that is when we said there is a BI tool, there is a visualization tool, and we have told, including our board, by the way, which include VC investors, we said whatever possible questions you may want to ever have, please keep telling us. We will keep building those questions in the BI, And we have given access to the BI to them. We are saying we will not even send you. Your question, you send us one shot, we'll answer every month, every year, every quarter, last year, show me 3-year CAGR, this, that, all of that is built in. You have access to our BI, please take the answer directly from there. Where we spend time on, therefore, is ensuring the accuracy of those dashboards, the accuracy of those hows, in Ravi's words. And that keeps the team also motivated. I have seen that the FP&A team, which was not very motivated, saying that, okay, I'm doing this, and then somebody else, they were almost to the extent, I would say, I don't know, for a lack of a better word, pissed off when somebody asks a question, okay, again, you'll have to do this, the whole thing again and again. But now they are, with the enthusiasm with which they keep asking, okay, do you have any other questions? Tell me, I'll build it off. And, the how is answered. That is at least how we are doing in the org here.
It's a huge change, because
see, if you really sit back and say, okay, exactly what happens in a business, right? If you have to condense everything, it boils down to probably 3 things. Everybody's trying to find out what the hell happened, right? That's the first thing, right? What happened? And second, they want to understand why it happened. And third thing we want to understand is, if it happened, we know why it happened. If things that are working well, you want to double down on. Things that are not working well, you want to stop. And then you want to improve things that are somewhere in between. Like this is crux of, that's all we try to do every month. Or every month, every week, every day. That's what we're trying to do, right? And more what is happening is, businesses, especially like us, where we cater to, let's say, 10 million developers who are using a product across 100 countries. It could be spread across a large enterprise, right, like a big bank. It can be a large tech company like a Google using it. It can even be like a single individual developer buying. So that's a strata you're covering. And this covers across 100 countries, right? And clearly, every time there will be some places it will work, some it will not work. There are issues. Historically, most finance professionals are very variance analysis oriented. They're happy to see this is what happened last quarter or last month. This is what is happening this quarter. This is the difference. Produce a variance analysis and give a reason for it. Right? That's really what happens. What that does is it gives you like a very tactical answer as to what is happening at a line item level. While that is good, it is not conducive to like create a plan and double down on, right? You can't put millions of dollars behind that plan, right? Therefore, what is becoming more and more important is pattern recognition. Are you able to recognize patterns that is happening in your business? Can you correlate that pattern not just with your internal factors, but also with your external factors? Businesses like us always have an influence in terms of what's happening in the larger economy. If the interest rates in the US goes up, spending drops, that will have an impact on how we are going to operate, right? So pattern recognition, looking at external factors and internal factors is becoming like a key to decipher areas that you need to invest, areas that you don't need to invest, and areas where you need to hold your ground. So, and therefore what we did, at least as a company, is, today my FP&A team has just 2 people, but my data analytics team has like 12 people. And their entire job is to make sure, one, data is accurately maintained, managed, etc., converting all of the data into visual recognition, like dashboards like Jaipal was mentioning. And these dashboards are available real time, not just to the management and the people, but also to our investors and board, etc., who can help us like manage the business, right? Pattern recognition, trend analysis, showing data historically correlated through graphs, etc., is becoming like a key tool for a decision making. And also one other factor that is happening in most boardrooms and most management teams is, most people that are going to make decisions may not be financial professionals. You'll have a bunch of people who are non-finance background. So how do you explain non-finance people finance? The only way to us to do that is through visualization, right? Show data, show patterns, show trends, show graphs. It's so easy for people to like understand, right? So therefore, I'm feeling that, more and more, again, this is no more becoming like, good to have. This is also becoming like necessity for most people, especially in businesses which are very complex, very volatile, spread across regions, millions of transactions. If you're in that type of a business, visualization is the only way for you to like make sense out of it and take actions.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. Let me just, having heard that, the other area that the CFO is now having to focus on is compliance and risk management is becoming even more important and difficult, because non-compliance becomes visible far more easily in today's technology connected world, because even the government organizations are using technology. Today, with GST, you can see that anything that any small company does or does not do, the government immediately knows about it. So the visibility of non-compliance has increased a lot. As far as risk is concerned, the focus of finance professionals has changed from managing financial risk to managing both business and financial risk. So in that context, let me request two of the panelists here. Srini, can you share some thoughts on risk management and compliance related automation and your experiences around it?
Well, as much as we say that India has gone digital with UPI, and fintech is definitely one industry which has exploded using technology. But at the same time, in every business, the level of automation has significantly gone up. But at the same time, the flip side of that is that risk in every business has gone up significantly. Partly because the speed at which the business is being done, partly because there are very intelligent people who make their career and business about hacking and crossing many of the barriers which companies have set up. And therefore, the whole aspect of managing risk becomes extremely, extremely important. And therefore, I would say that this whole aspect of risk not only comes from transaction, but also comes from the uncertainties in the world in which we live in, whether it is weather patterns or whether it is other types of risk, the ambiguity, and therefore you are never in a deterministic mode, but you are always in a probabilistic mode. And therefore, all organizations across my experience area, whether it's in consumer or automotive, I mean, automotive business has got disrupted. So when I used to do the risk matrix to present to the board, the fact that the business is going to get disrupted with EV and others coming in, how do you manage such a risk? So what aspects of your business and what types of contracts are getting entered? How long term are there? Are there flexibility clauses in those transactions becomes very important. And therefore, in many of those, the fact that there is a technology layer, there is a documentation aspect of it, which you are able to decipher by using very, very expert tools, throws up many of the exceptions. That's one. Secondly, in fast-moving consumer goods where there are zillions of transactions going on, it's no longer enough for us to say that I will do a sample check. Those days are gone. Nowadays, there are softwares and there are BPOs available which are focusing 24/7 on risk assessment across the globe, where 100% of your enterprise transactions are being monitored through software. So for Unilever, we have a small team of about 12 people who are monitoring risk for Unilever across 120 countries with a software running based on algorithms, looking at the enterprise software and raising tickets on each of the countries on the types of risks that are coming in and the sort of non-compliance that are coming in. Last but not the least, let me give you an example of the insurance industry. As you know, insurance is a very underpenetrated market and hence a very high growth market. On the other side, it is a highly regulated market with IRDA being there. So on one side, you have a high growth, almost a free-for-all going on. On the other side, you have a regulator who can sort of cancel your license as well. So the CFO has to, in fact, most of the at least two CFOs I have dealt with are losing their hair very, very fast. And partly I could establish a correlation. But having said that, they are always asking. They are not there, but they are banging the door of the CTO to say that, yes, what is the sort of technology and tool you are going to be able to provide to keep enhancing, because the types of products that are going to come, the types of, nowadays the IRDA says that file and launch. And then later on we will catch you if something goes on. So the CFO is the guy who has to provide that assurance, and therefore the use of technology becomes fundamental to the existence and the business continuity of every such company.
Thank you, Srini. Amit, your comments?
Yeah. So being from the VC industry, one of the key documents which we use for risk mitigation is a shareholders agreement, right? It has several layers of risk mitigation in terms of how do you deal with non-compliances with the company, a founder not being compliant, company not being compliant, etc. And these are vast documents, 80, 90 pages at the minimum. We have a portfolio of about 45 companies today, and it's only growing. And then there are several stages at which these shareholders agreement keep getting made. How do you sort of, and the biggest point you have to deal with is how do you benchmark these, right, when you do the next agreement, because you want a standardization there. So recently we have adopted an AI technology where we are able to sort of just do a GPT search. It is a generative AI technology where if I want to know what is the timeline for information to be given by this company and have they crossed that, I have to just search that in this open software which is available on my mobile, and I'm able to get the answer for all of the 45 companies. I can also search various other elements of this shareholders agreement. It becomes a benchmark for subsequent negotiations which are very live and very active, and you need to be very respondent on a minute-by-minute basis. It becomes very easy for the board members to really look at and mitigate when they see a risk coming by seeing if they have certain rights which can mitigate that risk. So I think AI and a lot of these technologies which are coming together today, even around managing compliances on a day-to-day basis, right? There are several changes in law which keep happening. Today our government has implemented faceless assessment in income tax. There's a GST which is completely digital. If the government is doing all of that, that means the businesses need to be 2 steps ahead, as Ravi also mentioned earlier. How do you make all of that happen is through use of technology, and AI is going to play a big role there, as well as certain simple customizations and digitizations over and above your Excel sheets, like just macros can solve for a lot of these elements.
Thanks, Amit. Jayapal, you had something to add?
Yeah. So I have a very different take on risk. I somehow feel that risk is something we don't see. Right? I mean, if we would have seen COVID earlier, then we would have found an answer. If we would have seen, any of the banking fiascos, Lehman, the oil fiasco, because like all CFOs, I also manage risk, and that is what gives me sleepless nights. What I've come to conclude that risk is something you don't see. If there is some tool, a technology tool, which can help you foresee a risk, it can only, make your sleep better. So that is where we use technology for foreseeing risk. Whatever we have seen, I think there is an answer, or we know that if this triggers, this is what will happen. As long as you know the outcome, the impact of the risk is much lower. Let's say we say that, the risk of crude going to 150 is there, but we know the outcome and therefore the impact is lower. We have seen a lot of these tools helping us foresee some of those risks and have helped us a lot. Similarly, when Ravi, when you mentioned about compliance, I also see that compliance is something which gives us sleepless nights if it is not done well. If we lose our peace of mind. So there is no metric, no financial metric, be it EBITDA percentage, ROI, ROCE, nothing will work when the trade-off is sleep of, loss of sleep or not a peaceful mind. So therefore, again, another tool which really ensures very good compliance, I think, is the answer for both risk and compliance.
Thank you. I'll just add one thought of my own experience. So at IBM, the CFO managed enterprise risk across the organization. And it was the leadership team of IBM India met every month, and one standard item on the agenda was enterprise risk. Otherwise, there were several topics discussed, etc. And I used to obviously go prep the CEO. The CEO wanted me to prep her before the leadership team meeting on different topics. And when I used to when it used to come to the topic of enterprise risk management, she used to tell me, Ravi, why are you always telling me risks? What about enterprise opportunity? Opportunity goes along with risk. As we have seen in COVID, where the huge risk provided so much opportunity to online and other things. So probably, and she would tell me, the next meeting, I want you to tell me opportunities as well as risks. Don't just come and tell me enterprise risk every time. So obviously got me thinking. And so that is another perspective of risk. That in managing that, is there somewhere that if you manage it very well, is there opportunity also? So just keep that in mind. We're well out of time. I think we need to, in fairness, we need to leave some time open for Q&A from the audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, any questions that you would have that the panelists can help answer? That's up to you. Maybe now that I've already said, we'll take one or two questions and then we can go to mocktail and handle further. Sorry.
Yeah, what role do you see tech playing in better communication of financial performance to shareholders via annual reports? Because even now when you see the annual reports, the drudgery of it, the 150 pages of meandering, which an average shareholder cares less about. When is the annual report going to be a document where the captain of the ship is talking to the shareholders without having the corporate affairs ministry peeping into what they're talking to shareholders? It should be a document for the owners of the company to know where the company is going, period. There are plethora of other returns that you are filing. Why does a shareholder have to know section so-and-so of Companies Act? It gives a headache. When will that go away? Will it go away at all?
Reporting reporting to the public is only increasing by the day. But you're very right. When you pick up an annual report, which is this thick and runs into hundreds of pages, it looks like all that is being done through the annual report is people are following the letter of what is required, not the spirit, which was your point. Let me request Srini to take that question. You're on the board of companies in the middle of annual reports and all those things. Tell us a little bit about.
Well, I think most companies, while they prepare the annual report, from a company perspective, they prepare it only for statutory purposes. Yeah, they are not using this as a communication tool, though you do see some glossy pictures and in the front pages, but other than that, this is a statutory compliance. The actual communication that they want to do is more through the investor relation deck and the engagement that they have with the participant in the capital markets. I do believe that, yes, there is a need for far greater change to come in this area, because many aspects of a company's business, for example, its own carbon footprint, its sustainability report, are many aspects which are not covered currently, though BRSR will bring something, but a more eco and shareholder friendly communication is something which is, I think, the need for the hour. I would agree. But from a company perspective and from a board perspective, it's a tick in the box. The business is not run, nor the communication to the board or other stakeholders of the company is done through the annual report.
Okay, let me just take one question and then I see two hands being raised, so sorry.
From a finance tech perspective, it's as a finance person, you generally look at the top line and the bottom line. But I've heard an economist say, generally a finance person who manages the cost better is supposed to be the champ of that. So from that perspective, since performance is generally measured by revenue, is there any fintech or anything that determines performance based on cost, so that as a CFO or as a chartered accountant consulting firm, we can measure the performance based on the cost a particular person has incurred? If he's incurred it wisely, that's what I meant.
Yeah, to some extent, effective and efficient cost management gets reflected in your gross margin, which is why investors pay so much attention to even minor changes in gross margin. But Jaipal, you can probably.
Yeah. I'll just add to that. See, my point is, any CFO or a finance person can incur an expense. An expense can be either an investment or it can be a loss. For example, tax is a loss, so you minimize the loss. A good investment is a good expense. So from that perspective, is there any tool that measures that whether a CFO or a finance person has done a good job on that perspective and shows?
It's a little complicated, but...
No, I mean, see, for expense, there are two. I think expenses are much more easier to manage. What is difficult to manage is the revenue, the growth, etc. Right? Expense, we all understand it so well. And I don't think today's CFOs are spending a lot of time on expense management, because there are already AOPs, there are already plans, there are budgets, there are comparatives. If in FMCG you are there, you know that if I have to compare with the best in class of an Nestle, HUL, ITC, Dabur, Marico. So those line items gives you such a strong comparative. And because if we go back 10 years and there was the democratization of smaller companies had not happened. But today with all these tools, all the SaaS, all the technology, I think every company is on a level playing field as far as expenses are concerned. So I don't, at least, I have not seen expenses being a bigger challenge to manage. The bigger challenge to manage in my view still is revenue, gross margin, growth, markets, customers.
Just to add to what Jaipal is saying and maybe to answer your question, I think the way to look at what you're saying is look at certain expense to returns ratios, right? Like in consumer businesses, LTV to CAC is a measure, which is what is the lifetime value you got from a particular customer who you have acquired through your marketing costs. There are several tools today which track all these metrics. Now, if you are able to track these metrics, then you know whether you're getting the right reward from your investment or it's a loss, and next time you're going to make better decisions. I hope I was able to answer some of that.
Thank you.
Just to build, I mean, what I've seen is that your competitive position in the market is either pricing led because of your market position and all of that, or it's cost led because you're a cost leader. Now, where your market position is pricing led in a way, if somebody comes and cuts your pricing, then you have a problem on your margin. But if it is your cost competitive, then you have the flexibility to do it. I mean, at least in the 3 companies I have worked and others, I have always seen, and these are not startups but large companies, every I would say 5-6 years, there is a need to shake the tree, because every person, every department says, oh, I am at the best of the cost. So I personally have implemented ZBB across all the companies I have been, and anywhere between 12 to 17% reduction in cost base we have achieved. So your point is valid to say that the sharpness of cost leadership is as important as pricing or anything else.
Thank you. One last question. Yeah, the gentleman right there.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for a wonderful session.
I just had one particular query, and given that the investor relations role is becoming very central to whatever CFOs are doing right now, and it has typically been very rudimentary in terms of how the approaches have been or the ways to probably work around that. What are interventions that you have done in your own businesses, specifically to investor relations, that you think can be looked at by larger organizations as well? Yeah, and I understand the analytics that you are working in to go for the final outputs, but is there something in the final outputs or some kind of interventions that you're doing on a regular basis which is helping you make it better? Thank you.
Yeah, I can take this because I manage investor relations. See, what I have learned of investor relations is once the investor starts trusting you, is when this, your question becomes easier. And when I say trust, no, I've also understood that trust does not mean that nothing will ever go wrong. Trust means, and that is the trust we have to establish with the investor. Trust, in my view, means that if and when things go wrong, the investor or the shareholder or the board, the management, whomever you are answerable to, trusts you that whatever was required for this to not go wrong was done, and still it went wrong. And they have the trust that now whatever is required to put it together back will be done by you. And I think once you achieve that, I think that you have achieved all of it. Then it is only a numbers and output and etc.
Yeah, I think just to quickly add to that, apart from that you've done all that you can, I think investors are also interested in making sure, in understanding that this thing will never happen again. Right? Do you have the right processes to handle that? Okay, just want to conclude this discussion. I want to thank the panel members, very, very rich in their experience, and thank you very much.
May I invite on stage our CFO partner from Pune, Sachin Gokhale, and CFO partner from Mumbai, Hitesh Kothari, to hand over a token of our appreciation to the panelists. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of our program, I would like to invite Sundar Sampath, our CFO partner, Bangalore, and the co-founder of CTO Bridge to address the August gathering.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll not take a lot of time. I think we went a little over time than what we planned, but of course the discussions were very engrossing. Really want to thank Ram Kumar for a great keynote address, talking about this topic which is very close to our heart, this whole fractionalization model, and the lovely panelists who are given time and also talked about how they think and how they have implemented tech at their offices. What we say to our clients is that when we talk about fractional, right, the fractional does not mean that our thought process or the help that we are giving to our clients is only a little bit. We always believe that the fraction that we give to our clients make them a whole, right? And that was a missing fraction. And that's what Ramkumar also talked about, how SMEs need the fractional thought leadership to kind of get them succeed. Today also, once again, taking to this event, it's a fraction of the day, right? Just 2 hours. But what made it whole is your presence, your support. So thanks to each one of you to have made it. And special thanks to the team at CFO Bridge, Prabhu, Divya, Soumya, Jahan, Shiva from the media team here for all the setup, and of course Taj for their wonderful hospitality. So thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Dinner is already served. So thank you once again. Thanks. Bye.
Hello. Sudhakar Tamankar, Sachin Gokhale, and the partners of CFO Bridge. Can we have you guys on the stage, please? Sudhakar Tamankar. Can you guys find Sudhakar Tamankar? Yeah, I gave him a bag. I told him that I need the bag when I need it. Sudhakar, yeah, there you are. All the partners of CFO Bridge, please on the stage. Yeah, Samya, get onto the stage. I've never seen the partners of CFO Bridge so impeccably dressed. So we can't just leave the opportunity. We got to take a photo.